Kung Fu master is prepared to train hard. Move fast. Incoming! Be brave.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're now covering the third Kung Fu Panda movie. Took a while to get to this one.
Now, this movie shows Po reuniting with his biological father and taken to a secret village of pandas to meet his long-lost family. However, this new peace is threatened when an old enemy of Uruguay arrives to steal the chi of every Kung Fu master.
Yes.
But,
and before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, click the kids place on future podcasts and we'll pause videos.
This is the third one of Rascal's favorite franchises in the world.
Yes, absolutely. And we originally wanted to cover this as part of like one after the other in honor of the fourth Kung Fu Panda movie. However, other things happened, so this one has been put off quite a bit. And we'd end up actually seeing Kung Fu Panda 4, which they've saved our thoughts for that for its own podcast. Now, for this one, the third one, a lot of people were hesitant on it because the second one is considered right now the best one in the franchise because of how it took such a dark turn, but it really worked for the story and really going into Po's character, having Shen be so far the best villain in the franchise, and really upping the ante to which you have never seen in DreamWorks up until The Last Wish. So when it came to the third one, a few people were a little divided on it. It wasn't really, it wasn't hated, but it wasn't considered as good as 2 because number 2 kind of just upped the ante in the darkness. When it went to a more lighthearted tone for the third one, audiences weren't too happy about that because they thought it was going to continue this particular theme.
Well, one of those reasons for the differences, the man not being welcome, were the production companies and the focus. This time there were 4 production companies: DreamWorks Animation, Oriental DreamWorks, China Film Group Corporation, and Zhongming Ying Films. So it looks like there was a saturation or focus on the Chinese part. And it being, looks like it was made more to probably satisfy that audience than the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's
like
possible.
it being done before with it being a Western production. Well, this time around it was 95 minutes and is released both in the U.S. and in China. So again, the focus being maybe attempting to satisfy China.
Yeah, possibly.
And there was a budget of $145 million and it earned over $521 million at the box office worldwide, so it was a great success.
Right, so regardless, it did well, and that's really good. For me, I think the movie was still really, really good. Yes, it's different from the second one, and it's also different from the first one. But I think, that's a good thing because I think every movie should be different from the other. I think if this one had been just as dark as the second one, it would feel like you were getting the same thing twice. And then it would go from being a really fun family movie with action and things mixed in to being a more dark and serious type film. And then it would have just changed directory altogether from what the first movie set up.
It was distributed by 20th Century Fox. I guess just be grateful that Disney
before Disney, and
the majority of the cast returned: Jack Black, Dustin Hoffman, Angelina Jolie, J.K. Simmons, Seth Rogen, David Cross, Lucy Liu, James Hong, Mr. Paul,
yes,
Jackie Chan, with the addition of Bryan Cranston, and David Cross returned also, Kate Hudson, and Randall Duke Kemp.
Alright, so we still have the returning cast plus some new additions. And I have to say, I think the new additions also worked really well too, especially with Bryan Cranston being Poe's, I guess, other dad, and J.K. Simmons is the villain.
Yes.
I think it's hilarious. I thought that would be the other way around, but hey, it still worked out. And I think for the villain of Kai, this one ended up being more different than the other two, because some people pointed out each villain so far up until 4 has a certain theme about them that's supposed to be, I guess, the dichotomy between a balance for Kung Fu. And for when you had Shen, he was using something that was using it for beauty and using it for destruction and violence. And then here, he was taking chi of different masters because he wanted more and more power. And when he did take said chi, they returned to the J zones they call zombies. And for me, I think Kai was still an intimidating villain. I don't think anything is gonna top Shen. No matter how many great movies they make, no matter how many villains they make, Shen's gonna be their best villain.
Definitely.
Especially with the advertisement they've been doing for their other movies. But I think he really does serve as a good antagonist for the film, especially with Poe's arc in here becoming a teacher. He has to go through something new in each film.
And I know this is the last time I mentioned this, but I think it's important to know there was a difference. As you said, it changed direction from the second movie, and it was about finding his roots.
Right.
And again, I think that was mainly to satisfy the Chinese audience. It also premiered in China before it premiered in the U.S.
That's true.
And maybe because it gotten so many accolades and a great reception, they really felt it was important for them to have it accepted there.
Yeah.
And because of that, you had all these different and new elements, while still trying to stay true to the original concept.
Yeah. And I think for this, personally, they still did very well in that aspect. It still felt like Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, you wish the Furious Five were in there a little more. You wish you had some of the characters from the other two movies in there more than just heavier focus on Poe. But I think they did tell a good story. It still had great scenes, still had great action. Animation, of course, is always top notch.
And music by Hans Zimmer.
Right. And even the ending song they had during the conclusion and the end credits were sung by an all Chinese vocal group. And I still think it sounded well, if they sung in all Chinese or in all English or switching back and forth between it. I think it still sounded good. So I do hope that, at the time this came out, they enjoyed the movie as much as American audiences did.
Definitely. And Bryan Cranston was a surprise.
Yeah, did not come to be
a
in there.
great choice.
Yes.
He really worked. He fit right in. It seemed like he had been a part of the cast from the beginning.
Right.
And I think that was really great casting. It wasn't trying to accept someone to be a part of it. He just felt natural.
Right.
The performance and him blending with everyone, it just seemed really natural. And then, as you mentioned, J.K. Simmons as the villain, well, we were used to him being, except for as Jameson, other than that, we were used to him being the hero.
Yes.
And he took a villainous turn in here.
Right.
But
So
as
he
you
can play
mentioned, the standout is always going to be Carrie Owen. Sorry, J.K. Simmons.
Yep, definitely.
But this villain is probably, I'm gonna say, it's more memorable than the one that's in Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah, unfortunately, for ones who have not seen it, or well, if you have seen it, yeah, you'll probably know what we're talking about. And no shade if you did enjoy the fourth movie. We just felt that one was even more different than the third one. And I think in a way it's ironic now we're covering this because for the longest time, you didn't have any more Kung Fu Panda movies for 8 years. And people thought, okay, I guess maybe they stopped at 3. They planned 6, maybe they did 3, and they stopped. No, they just took a while to get to number 4. And before number 4 came out, the third one was considered the weakest one. Not in a bad way, but in terms of the action and the tones to and the deepness of it, they felt like this was the weakest in terms of doing that because they tried to make it so fun and lighthearted. And to me, I disagreed. I think all 3 movies are fantastic. But now I don't think number 3 is considered the weakest anymore because number 4 came out and that had a very heavy response when it did.
And then they had some series that were on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
One was The Paws of Destiny.
Yeah, which we tried and didn't really care for that.
And then Kung Fu Panda the Dragon Knight.
Yes, which was on Netflix, and again, that was just okay.
So, unfortunately, they may have been foreshadowing as
Yeah.
to what was going to come for. because when we did watch the two series, they deviated greatly from the movies themselves. They had other characters who were more heroes than Poe. Poe had become, there's no nice way to put it. They had made Poe dumb down. He become clueless again. He become a klutz and a goof and incompetent. And we really didn't care for that after having set him up in the movies to progress in each one.
Right.
And become not only a role model for the younger animals there,
but
also to make his dads proud. And then you get to these series and it's like, what? And then we hear from the movie it's about the same.
Yeah.
So yes, I do agree. 3 is probably masterpiece now compared to the 2 series and the 4th movie.
Right.
But I agree with you. I like 3. I've always liked all 3. My favorite is the first one.
Yeah.
The favorite villain is Lord Shen.
Yes.
And I think all 3 are really good. Each had their strengths.
Yeah.
And they stayed true to having quality. Unlike a lot of studios now, are just throwing things out. And like it may be for 4, we're not sure. If you've seen it, tell us in the comments.
Yeah.
But the first 3, we can say, including this 3rd one, really was reaching to give quality and entertainment and just do their best on this particular work.
Right. And one more thing to add about this is I think the tone for me helped with the theme of the movie, because you have Kai being this really hardened master who's supposed to have his own martial arts style, and he's going around taking the chi from others, which you think about something they reused for the 4th movie. And you have Poe trying to teach others his martial arts skills when it's like just 2 movies ago he was clumsy himself, and he was not trying to fail all the time on purpose, but she didn't want him there because he was the panda and everything, and it was really showing that you could be a master and still be underestimated depending on how it looked. And they chose all these different animals to be different masters. And I always loved the idea that Kung Fu and Kung Fu masters were sort of just their version of having superheroes and superpowers, especially Poe being a fanboy like Deku. And I love that it was kept in all 3 movies. Even with the tone shifts, it was like taking inspiration from different Western movies with superheroes or sci-fi elements and having the journey reinterpreted into this type of film. And I think for number 4, that's part of what was missing, why we were hearing so many audiences didn't like it. When we were seeing commercials and promotions for 1, 2, and 3, all 3 felt the same in the tone and what you love about Kung Fu Panda and what you were paying to see.
Sure.
The advertisements of 4 did not feel like you were watching a Kung Fu movie. It felt like just like any other movie. Heavy dose on comedy, heavy dose on pop music. It was having songs and things that had nothing to do with Kung Fu, nothing to do with Poe, nothing to do with things. It was just trying to cash in on the popularity of this franchise and throwing things really at the screen. Like, hey, number 4 is out, and people were just wondering why. Number 3 kind of ends on a note where you could see this being the end. Even they did plan 6 and decide, you know what, we changed our minds. Think 3's enough. We'll do some spin-offs or some series and things or specials, but we're done with movies. If they had done that, especially there being 8 years since the other film, I think would have been fine with that.
And I think that if they wanted to do 3 more, they could have taken the ideas for the series they didn't do well, in terms of having him be a teacher for the other younger ones that were there and maybe had grown older.
Right.
And he was being a leader, still with Shifu helping him and having his friends and his family, but showing him even growing more and taking that knowledge and showing how he was sharing it with them.
Right.
Because we watched one special where they told the different stories for each of the Furious 5.
Yes.
And that's what they should have expanded on and had for movies 4, 5, and 6. And I think if they'd done that, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
It would have had the same feel, the same vibe. It would have been in the same style as you mentioned. And I think that really would have worked.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I think for movies 1, 2, and 3, I give them all A's. number
Me
one,
too.
A+.
Me too.
And I think they're all fantastic. And if you've seen them, then we can take joy in knowing we can watch these over and over.
Yes.
So if you've watched Kung Fu Panda 3, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you love it? Did you think it was mid? Were you disappointed? Or do you think it held up well as we do? Let us know. And if you haven't seen it, better watch 3 before 4. As a matter of fact, watch 1, 2, and 3 and revel in the awesomeness
Right.
that is Kung Fu Panda before seeing 4.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates with your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us, for subscribing, and for sharing our videos. Be sure to share this one as well. It really helps our channel out a lot.
Yes.
And last but not least, I do want to mention with Jack Black, they did make a good choice in bringing him back for the sequels.
Yes.
Because we've seen what they call sequel, not sequel.
Yes.
And they bring someone else in instead of keeping the one who helped to make it a success.
Yes.
And the last point I want to mention is that we were thinking about the choice of the song, as you said, it doesn't fit. And it just seems like, unfortunately, the main goal of DreamWorks, or the investors, or DreamWorks, whichever, was to make a ton of cash. Well, if you give us quality and what we love, you'll get our cash. It's that simple. Just give us what we
Yeah,
want.
I almost so
Give
hard
us
about
what
that.
we love, and you'll get all the cash you want. And having a Britney Spears song just doesn't work. I love Britney Spears. The song is awesome, but it just doesn't fit the movie.
Yeah,
I
it
would
just
like
didn't.
to hear, as you said, theme songs or even original songs like Jack Black, did for Peaches.
Yes.
For Super Mario Brothers. They should have had him do that instead of trying to bring up another song that was a hit and put it in a movie that really has nothing to do with the song itself.
Right. So, if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and reviews for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Again, yes.
Yes. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Ask Entertainment.
And then Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.